don't know. Hey everybody, Frapple up here, and today I'm going to make a video on something that I don't normally talk about or make videos on. What else is new? Consistency is not a part of my language. But today I'd like to talk about a recent purchase that I made, and though it's not a particularly special purchase, special to me, despite it not being a part of my life until now. So without further ado, I'd like to talk about the Sony PlayStation Portable. Released in December of 2004, the PSP was premium. It was powerful. It was the most powerful thing we had ever seen in such a small form factor ever. It was insane. And I wanted one. I wanted one real bad. I grew up on PlayStation. I had a PlayStation 1, then I had a PlayStation 2. PSP, that sounds perfect. I want one of those right now. My parents were like, no, you can be my boyfriend. You can have a Nintendo DS. And I was like, no. And then I played Mario 64 DS that I got for Christmas, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. So the PSP faded out of my life, and all my hopes of getting one went away because I already had a DS. There's no way I was having two portable systems. A lot of the kids that I knew had the PSP, but not as many as I knew that had DSs. So I definitely got the better end of the deal in that regard. I also think that the Nintendo DS had a better library, I think, for me at that time. But now that I'm older, and I managed to go buy one recently used for about 30 bucks. Granted, this one is really beat up, it's really worn. However, everything works perfectly fine. So I wanted to invest in the system because it's something that I wanted so badly as a kid. Now, the PSP is interesting because it wasn't just a gaming system, it was a multimedia system. They emphasized not only watching movies with UMDs, which are the discs. By the way, this is an optical drive system that is portable. Why? Fuck if I know. So they made these, but instead of in games, they had movies. I mean, it's a disc. Makes sense. You got DVDs. Why not make small DVDs? And as a result, Sony invested a lot of money into these PSP movies. And they were just movies, you know, like Ghost in the Shell, The Incredibles, things like that. And they just put them on UMDs, and they were more expensive, and it, you know, it didn't really work out that well. But they put a lot of money and effort into it, and I think that it's very strange. It was really interesting, and I think it's just one of the things that makes the system so unique. They also emphasized playing music on the system and things like that. It also had a web browser, which is another crazy thing about it. It's just, there's just so much weird stuff. And despite the fact that it's internet, I don't think you could really play games online. You could only like connect to the internet to download stuff and to browse the internet, but you couldn't like play games online. You could only do local multiplayer, which was like, I mean, I don't know. So I got the system, and the first game that I invested in was Monster Hunter Portable 3rd. This is a portable version of the game Monster Hunter Tri, I believe, which is the third generation of Monster Hunter games. Portable 3rd did not get released outside of Japan, hence why this is a Japanese copy with the Zero rating. So you might be wondering, well, how do you play it if it's Japanese? Well, that's the great part about the PSP, it's not region locked. Because it's not region locked, you can play games from wherever you want. And another thing that made it okay to get this game is that, okay, it's in Japanese. There's a lot of text. Items are very, very, very important. If I don't know what gear I'm using, that's a really bad thing. So, it turns out the PSP is very easily moddable. It is extremely easy to put custom firmware and do homebrew things on the system. It's as simple as dragging an update file to the PSP by connecting it to your PC with a USB cable and just going to it on the menu and hitting the update, and it's like, it's easy. It's so incredibly easy. So by doing this, I am able to use an English patch on the PSP with the UMD. No emulation required, which is more common for playing this game. Most people in the community will emulate the game and use the English patch. And that works well, and I've done that before. It was the first way and only way I played it up until now, but I really wanted to own this game because I like it a lot and it's a lot of fun. I think that I like Generations better. I think that Generations just has more content and it's a more well-rounded and balanced game. There's more to do in it, you know. It's a celebration of the entire franchise. Of course, it's, you know, it has some more to do. But this is an incredible experience and I can highly recommend this game to anybody who's interested in, you know, games like this. It's a very unique experience. It's hard to recommend, it's hard to describe. It's definitely something I would recommend trying before you buy, because either you'll love it or you'll hate it a lot. So, the thing about that is that installing that patch and custom firmware, you need storage. Oh, well yeah, SD cards, right? No, that would be nice. You see, like the Vita, because Sony doesn't learn, the PSP uses proprietary memory sticks, which worked well with things like the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. Those are home consoles. You know, it'd be really silly sticking an SD card in a machine that big. They didn't make them in large capacities, and SDs weren't standard, especially back in, you know, the 90s when the PlayStation 1 came out. So having a proprietary memory card that was easily manufactured and small enough to just throw them, and small and durable enough to throw them around wherever you wanted, and it's fine from the manufacturer, made sense. With this, where it makes sense to put an SD card, not so much. And these things were really expensive. A 1 gig stick would cost you about a lot of money. So I have a 4 gig stick here, and for reference, I paid like $12 for this. They're very cheap to get, but it's very important because I started with this 32 megabyte stick, and I was like, you know, it's an old system. 32 megs, not a problem. You see, 32 megs is not enough to even install a system update, let alone hold themes and play videos and music and have a patch for the game updating all the text. Not gonna happen. So, after I had already bought the PSP, bought Portable Third, and gotten back home, realized that that amount of storage was not gonna cut it. I'm leaving soon for a trip, and I want to take this with me, so I was like, fine, you know what? I'll drive another 20 minutes back to the store, and I'll go pick up a memory card. So I picked up the 4 gigabyte memory card that I have right here. And while I was there, I was like, that's a really stupid reason to drive out 20 minutes in this very traffic-infested area. So I bought 2 more games, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max and BlazBlue Calamity Trigger Portable. These are 2 fighting games by Atlas and Capcom, and they are very, very, very well made. These are really good ports. This is an excellent port of the game. It's a really good fighter, and buying this game can be pretty expensive. However, this is a really inexpensive port of the game. I bought this for $12 complete in the box, and you know, 12 bucks, I mean, that's nothing. That game is great. I love it because it has so many modes, so much variety, and a lot of characters, and there's so much tweaking you can do with that game. There's like 4 play styles per character, and you know, there's also like the custom fighters that you can do in the World Tour, where you gain XP and level up your character, and you can use those in all the other different modes, and there's like 12 or 13 different modes, and it's insane. There's so much content in that game, and it's awesome. And then the other game, of course, I picked up was BlazBlue Portable. I like BlazBlue a lot. I have all of the BlazBlue entries, at least the ones that are available on PC, all the way up through Central Fiction. I love Central Fiction. I put so many hours into that game with my friend. We play it not all the time, but it's one of those games where it's like, it's 3 AM and we're like, wanna play BlazBlue? Yeah. So, naturally, I was like, oh shit, BlazBlue Portable, yes please. So, BlazBlue Portable, excellent port of Calamity Trigger. Now, Calamity Trigger isn't a particularly fleshed out fighting game. It's BlazBlue, and it's an Atlas fighter, so the fighting mechanics themselves are pretty in-depth, and there's a lot that you can do in the game. It is a full port, just straight up port of Calamity Trigger, no strings attached. However, Calamity Trigger isn't necessarily a fleshed out fighting game. There's not a lot of modes. You have your arcade, you have story mode, you have versus, and like, that's it. So it's a fairly simple fighting game, but if you want to get into the BlazBlue franchise and see if you like it, this is a good place to start, whether you get the PlayStation Portable version, or the PC version, or wherever else they release Calamity Trigger. I have no idea. So that was just, you know, a short little talk from me about the PSP, my experience with it, growing up without it, and coming across it and buying one recently, and I really enjoyed it, and I just wanted to bring up the conversation, you know, like, do you have fond memories of the PlayStation Portable? You know, I think it's just such an interesting and unique system, and it was so revolutionary. Not necessarily even revolutionary, it was just so powerful at the time. It was so different. It was, you know, it looks premium, and I think that that's one thing that Sony wanted it to be. It was a premium product. You could watch movies on it, you could browse the internet, you could listen to music, and you could play PlayStation 2 console quality games on the go in a proper disc format that was relatively inexpensive compared to the solid state alternatives that were available at the time, but it's such a unique and interesting system, and it's such a diverse portable system with such an amazing, interesting library, akin to that of, you know, the wonder days of, you know, PS1 and PS2. So many interesting and unique titles that you wouldn't find on any other system. So I want to say thank you to everyone who watches my videos. It does mean a lot to me. I don't make videos very often, as I am a full-time student with going for a film degree, so most of my filmmaking effort goes towards that. But one, I have the motivation to make a video, and that's another thing, is that a lot of times I don't have any motivation to make videos, and that's why I live stream and upload those to YouTube. But when I have the motivation, I make the video, and I do it to the best of my ability, and it does mean a lot. I mean, I don't have many subscribers, like 300 or so, but it means a lot to have you guys, and that you watch my videos, and it's awesome. And I want to do just everything. I want to dabble in everything. That's what I like to do, and if there's something that people really like, I'll stick with that. But until then, I just kind of want to keep jumping around and doing what I want to do. I'd like to do more stuff like this, retrospects on systems. I actually would love to do one on my Sega Saturn, because I love that system. I don't have a ton of games for it, but I have put so many hours into that system, and it's crazy. That's a topic for another video. But once again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully not a year from now.